It's good to be doing a new video for you guys, though I'm not in Horns High Studios due to the excessive humidity going on here where I live. But I'm doing the first episode of 666 Seconds of Murder since the end of May. As most of you know, I was in the hospital for nearly 2 months battling necrotizing fasciitis. It's pretty scary stuff. Google it. You probably won't want to see. But I'm recovering from home and doing great. So thanks for all the well wishes and the support you guys have given. And let's get down to business. But this video will be longer than 666 seconds. Now, don't forget to like the video, drop a comment below. You know, it helps get the video out there to more people. So I appreciate that. And if you're not a subscriber, please do that before you leave today. It helps the channel grow. We're closing in on 10,000 subscribers. So help me get to that goal. I appreciate it. It's important to remember that this video is for entertainment purposes only. These are just my opinions and speculation. I'm not an expert, but I'm using some good common sense to analyze these cases. I'm not saying anyone is guilty of anything. All of what I say is alleged. Now, for this episode, I'd like to discuss the Idaho 4 case and the Delphi case. I've mentioned many times before that there is an amazing number of similarities between the two, and the timeline that law enforcement is pushing is one of them, and that's the one I want to talk about with you today. There were a couple of big hearings in the Delphi case recently, and that's where the information that I'm going to go through comes from. There were some issues revolving around a Franks motion, which means the defense challenged the validity of the search warrants that were executed on the home of the defendant, Richard Allen. Now, in the Idaho 4 case, the defense have also questioned the validity of the search warrant, and they also submitted a Franks motion. So you may have heard that before. Now, the Carroll County Sheriff at the time was Tony Liggett, and there is quite a bit of shadiness surrounding him, as well as some of the Indiana State Police investigators on this case that goes back to 2017. I plan on doing a deeper dive on Delphi and running through an overview of how it started and how it got to where we are now. So we're about 60 days away from the trial of Richard Allen. And so I wanted to kind of brush you guys up on this one because you're going to be hearing a lot more about it once the trial starts. Now, law enforcement said that the girls were murdered between 2:13 p.m. and 3:57 p.m. on February 13th of 2017. This was established from their cell phone records. Now, Libby's cell phone was found under her shoe, which was beneath the body of Abby. Strangely, when the bodies were posed, Libby was naked and Abby was wearing Libby's clothes. Some believe they were slain there, but I do not. I believe they were abducted by their attackers and taken off-site and then dumped in that location where they were found the following day as, part of a ritual. I've done videos about the Odinists and how I feel that they may have been involved here. If you're not familiar with that, you may want to check it out. It sounds a little kooky, but there's definitely something there. The site where they were dumped was the property of Ron Logan. Now, Ron has since passed away, but he had a criminal record. So in my opinion, the people who did this possibly wanted to point the blame in his direction. We don't know, but you can surmise that from the reason why they would have picked his property. Now, just like in the Idaho 4 case against Brian Kohberger, law enforcement is taking a stand on the timeline in order to convince the jury that the defendant did the crimes. Now, Richard Allen told the police when he was questioned in the beginning, he came forward and said, hey, I was out there on the bridge at 3 p.m. on that day. And so that fits that window between 2:13 and 3:57. And just like in Idaho, where the police claim the crimes went down between 4 and 4:25. So these tight time frames certainly put them in a corner, because the problem that the prosecutors in both cases may run into is that if evidence comes to light that the defendants were somewhere else during those times, the case completely falls apart. And I think that may be true in both Delphi and Idaho. Now, in the recent Delphi hearings, it came to light by the defense that the prosecution only recently provided discovery of some AT&T information regarding the cell phone. Another similarity to Idaho 4 with that. They said that Libby's cell phone was pinged every 15 minutes on February 13th when the crimes were supposed to have happened, but it did not respond. So it was either out of service or out of the area. Amazingly, the phone came back on at 4:33 a.m. the following day, February 14th. So this would have been the day after they were missing. This was the day the bodies were found at noon on that day. So how does a cell phone that was found under a victim become active all of a sudden, several hours after law enforcement said that the crimes happened? Does that change the timeline? Does that prove that Richard Allen had absolutely nothing to do with this? I believe that it does. Now, did somebody plant evidence on that phone and put it there to throw investigators off? We don't know. Now, furthermore, why did they leave this cell phone information out of the search warrant application? What about the fact that AT&T said that there were 3 unidentified cell phones in the area of the abduction at that time? Now, gee, doesn't that sound familiar? Remember the 3 unknown male DNA samples found at the Idaho 4 location that were also unidentified? I mean, why not find out who they were in both cases? I mean, check to see if these individuals could have somehow been involved. Doesn't make any sense. Now, it was during the execution of the search warrant on the home of Richard Allen that a Sig Sauer pistol was found. They took the pistol and claimed that it matched up with an unspent bullet that was found at the scene where the bodies were dumped. This is the same crime scene that they scoured through for a week or two, then released it, and then sealed it again, and miraculously found this bullet. And by the way, under 2 to 3 inches of dirt. So who knows how long that bullet was there, or if it was even there in the first place. I mean, they don't do themselves any favors by pulling these kind of shenanigans. Matching a gun to an unspent bullet is shaky at best, according to the firearm expert that I spoke to. The girls were not shot, but law enforcement is trying to claim that a gun may have been used by Richard Allen to keep the girls compliant, not running away or yelling or anything like that. And somehow he ejected a bullet from the gun that wasn't fired. I don't know. It just doesn't sound right to me. Now, another strange thing about Delphi is that the autopsy reports on the 2 victims doesn't provide an estimated time of death. Why not? I mean, that's an important thing in a murder case. Is it because they could have been murdered much later than law enforcement would like us to believe? In my opinion, that's exactly why. This is another similarity to Idaho 4. Fishy autopsy findings, fishy coroner activity, lots of similarities between these 2 cases. As I stated before, in my opinion, they were abducted by the followers of the Odinist religion, taken to another site where they may have been tortured and murdered and then taken to the area where they were found and posed. There was an expert who told the investigators that the sticks that were found on the bodies were done intentionally in runes in that the Odinist religion follow, and it appeared to be a ritualistic sacrifice. Strangely, this was also left out by the Indiana State Police, namely the investigator Jerry Holman, who played dumb and said he forgot the name of the expert, so they couldn't go back to him. But that man came forward, so that kind of blew that. So just shady activity after shady activity. This case against Richard Allen stinks, and so does the case against Brian Kohberger. Check out some of the other videos that I've done on both of these cases. There are some excellent creators that have also done some great work on Delphi. So if you want to tune up on this case, check out True Crime Design, Grizzly True Crime, and Lawyer Lee. They've all done really good content on this case. And in case you didn't know, I've got a new true crime channel that I've started with my good friend A.R. Hayes of A Convict's Thoughts, and we're calling this new channel Darkness Visible. Check out the handle on your screen and do me a favor and go subscribe to it if you haven't already. We did a live last night. It was a lot of fun, and you can watch that on the replay if you haven't seen it yet. But comment below with your thoughts. As always, I love to hear from you guys. I read them all. I try to respond to as many of them as I can, but I can't always do that. But I do read them. Thank you to my friends in the Horns High Club. You guys are amazing. I hope that you guys enjoy the perk of getting the videos as soon as I upload them. Here, I'm going to start doing regular videos again. So I appreciate you that stuck it out in the Horns High Club while I was in the hospital for those 2 months. So thank you very much. I appreciate that support, and I appreciate all of you guys that watch these videos. We'll see you next time on another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder.